The Zephyrian War Council convened in their crystalline chambers aboard the flagship Dominion's Edge, their chitinous forms gleaming under the harsh blue lights. High Commander Vex Thul regarded the transmission from the human homeworld with what could only be described as bewilderment. If one could attribute such an emotion to a species that had conquered 47 star systems without encountering meaningful resistance. They laughed, reported Intelligence Officer Crixtall, her mandibles clicking nervously. The entire planetary government. When we delivered the standard surrender ultimatum, they burst into what their species calls laughter. Commander Vex Thul's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. In 3 centuries of expansion, no species had ever responded to Zephyrian might with anything other than terror, desperate negotiation, or immediate capitulation. The standard protocol was simple. Arrive with overwhelming force. Broadcast surrender. Demands. Accept submission. Integrate the new territory. It had worked flawlessly across the galaxy. Perhaps it's a translation error, suggested war strategist Nixvar. Some form of ritualistic acceptance. Negative, sir. Our linguistic algorithms are precise. The humans found our ultimatum amusing. On the main display, Earth hung like a blue-green marble, completely undefended by any visible orbital platforms or weapon arrays. Intelligence suggested the humans possessed primitive kinetic weapons and basic nuclear fission technology, laughably inadequate against Zephyrian plasma shields and gravitational disruptors. Their response? Vex Thul demanded. Crixtall activated the recording. The image of a middle-aged human female appeared, apparently their leader, though she wore no ceremonial armor or enhancement implants. She was still chuckling when she spoke. "Thank you for the entertainment value of your message," the human said, wiping moisture from her eyes. "We needed a good laugh after the quarterly budget meetings. Our response is no, obviously. Also, we're curious about your shield frequency harmonics. Our physicists have some theories they'd like to test." The transmission ended with what appeared to be the human making a deliberately rude gesture. War strategist Nixvar's claws scraped against his console. "Sir, recommend immediate orbital bombardment. These creatures clearly lack the intelligence to comprehend their situation." "Agreed. Begin Phase 1 bombardment of major population centers." The fleet's primary weapons charged, gravitational lenses focusing destructive force that could level mountains. But as the first salvo launched toward Earth's surface, something impossible happened. The beams curved, not deflected, by shields or absorbed by defensive systems. They simply bent in space, redirected harmlessly into the void. The entire War Council fell silent except for the nervous clicking of mandibles. Crixtall, explanation. "Unknown, Commander. Our sensors detect no defensive systems. No energy signatures consistent with known shield technology." Fire again. Full spread. This time the Zephyrians watched in growing alarm as their devastating plasma bolts spiraled into elegant helixes, dancing around Earth like cosmic ribbons before dissipating into nothing. A few beams inexplicably reversed course, though they harmlessly struck the fleet's own shields. The human transmission channel crackled to life again. The same female appeared, now accompanied by several others who seemed barely able to contain their amusement. "Oh, you're using gravitational manipulation for your weapon system," she said cheerfully. "Elegant but terribly predictable. We've been bending space-time for scientific research for decades now. Took us about 30 seconds to figure out how to redirect your shots." An elderly human male leaned into the frame. "The children in Mrs. Patterson's 4th grade class actually suggested the spiral pattern. We thought it looked pretty." "4th grade?" Vex Thul turned to his intelligence officer. "Juveniles, sir. Age approximately 9 Earth years." The implications hit the War Council like a plasma bolt to the thorax. These humans, these primitive, unaugmented creatures, had not only nullified the Zephyrian fleet's primary weapons, but had done so casually, treating it as an educational exercise for their young. "Perhaps," the human leader continued, "we should discuss this more reasonably. We're always interested in meeting new species, especially ones with such interesting technology. Though we should mention, That gravitational lens system of yours has given our engineers some wonderful ideas for asteroid mining applications. Commander Vexthul felt something he had never experienced in 3 centuries of conquest. Uncertainty. These humans hadn't built massive defensive platforms because they hadn't needed to. They hadn't responded with fear because they genuinely weren't afraid. Secondary weapons, he ordered quietly. The quantum disruptors fired, weapons designed to unmake matter at the molecular level. The beams reached Earth's atmosphere and simply stopped, frozen in space as if time itself had been paused. More laughter from the transmission. Oh, quantum manipulation too. We've been working on that. Mostly for medical applications, but the defense implications are obvious. A younger human appeared on screen, practically bouncing with excitement. Are those quantum entangled particles in your engine system? We've been trying to solve the coherence problem for interstellar travel. Vexthul's primary and secondary hearts began beating in different rhythms, a physiological response his species experienced only in mortal terror. The humans weren't just defeating the fleet, they were treating the most advanced weapons in Zephyrian history as intellectual curiosities. Commander, Krixtall whispered, incoming transmission from the 3rd and 5th fleets. Report. Similar situations, sir. The humans have neutralized all offensive capabilities. Also, she paused, mandibles chattering with what might have been hysteria. The 5th Fleet reports that the humans have somehow improved their shield efficiency by 15%. They're offering to share the technical specifications. On screen, the human leader was consulting with her companions. We've been wondering, she said, turning back to the camera, why do you actually want to conquer other species? It seems like a lot of work, and frankly, pretty boring. Wouldn't you rather collaborate? We've got some fascinating projects underway. Stellar, engineering, consciousness transfer, temporal mechanics. Much more interesting than subjugation. The War Council sat in stunned silence. In the span of 1 solar hour, the most feared military force in the galaxy had been rendered completely impotent by creatures who treated warfare as an intellectual exercise and offered friendship in return for hostility. Sir? War strategist. Nixavar's voice was barely a whisper. Orders. Vexthul stared at the blue world that had just revolutionized everything he thought he knew about power, technology, and civilization. These humans hadn't just defeated the Zephyrian Empire. They had made it irrelevant. Open diplomatic channels, he said finally, and ask them about the stellar engineering. On Earth, the laughter continued, and humanity's greatest victory was won not through superior firepower, but through superior curiosity, ingenuity, and the simple refusal to be impressed by anyone who thought conquest was more interesting than discovery.